Okay, folks, we're back. And before we get started, we're going to do some maintenance type issues. And that maintenance type issues, well, first of all, let's turn on the light because we're supposed to be on the air. There we go. All right. And yeah, we got to put away some of these things that are not supposed to be out here. So we left some of these extra pieces off the armored cars to be built. Let's put them all together since we're building them all together. We still have one left to do, and that's kind of the direction that we need to go in. So all these armored car parts. All in one place. I don't think there's anything else. There is one fender that somehow mysteriously disappeared. And there's a chance I never had it because it did come loose in the packaging. Let me just take a look here, as I ended up cannibalizing it from another one. I'm pretty sure I can build it without it. It just wouldn't have this undersection here on one of them. So it's not that noticeable. Put all this stuff together. Might as well do this before some folks show up. And then more than likely, after we're done with these armored cars, we're going to go back into the T-26s. That are much more difficult builds than these Rodents. I'm surprised how many people actually were complaining that the Rodents were difficult builds. Not compared to the UMMTs. UMMT T-26s are much more difficult. The instructions are probably worse, and the fit and finish is not better. The vacuum should be primed, so we can do a little bit of cleanup here. It's almost not even necessary. We don't have a loose fender in here, right? It'd be light gray. It'd be real easy to... It went somewhere. But it's not that noticeable, so... I think it had all the pieces. It may not have. In which case, there's no point looking for it, because you're never going to find it. Okay. All right, so we're going to build the last 231 armored car. That's just an empty box. Might as well put these in with the extra pieces for the Tagwagen. Okay, so here's the last rodent kit. Advertisement for squadron.com. Don't need that, don't need the box right now either. Don't need the decals. And we've done most of the operations here. The only thing is it is missing one of these fender sections. So we're gonna build it without it. It's pretty hidden underneath here. I'm not sure exactly which one it is that it's missing, but whichever one it is, it should not be that noticeable underneath there. Right, so here are the two black sprues. As always, the one that has the turret and so forth. Here is the wedding veil material, as I like to call it, which is the grenade screens for the top of the turret here. It looks like they give you plenty. So this is actually, if this works pretty well, I'm going to definitely keep this. That's handy to use for other things. I don't see how using all of this is going to consume this whole thing. I think that even half of this is plenty. So, all right, set that off to the side. And since this is the third one of these we've done 3. This is the fourth one, actually. We may follow our own particular path and how to get to the end result, like this one. And of course, the accoutrement that will be on the outside here will be different. We don't want them looking exactly the same. They'll be slightly different. And once we get done with that, we can put the grenade screens on both of them. Okay. So the first thing you want you to do, let's find my, let's put the readers on here, the super readers. Okay, the first thing I want you to do is build the business end there, 20mm cannon. Okay, so we're going to cut all these pieces off that make the 20mm cannon with our Tamiya cutter. And let's get the X-Acto blade handy here also. And how long we're on here? Well, it just depends on how many folks show up to, we can entertain each other. All right, so we need to get the cannon out. All right, and 16E, which is this piece right here. 10E, which is this piece here. And 13E, which is this almost like a little gun shield. Okay, that's the part of section part 1, the first step subassembly. I like to drill out the end of cannons, but not when they're 20 millimeter. That's just too small. Nothing good can come from that. So we're just going to leave that alone. Mr. Barnes, welcome. You're here, but you're not here. Because it does not show any viewers. And like I said, is this kit complicated and finicky? Yes, but it is a hell of a lot easier than the UMMTs. These things are a chore comparatively. So these will get built too, but if you think the Rodins are bad, then you haven't tried one of those UMMTs. Okay, this has an opening, supposedly. There it is. So that's going to get glued. Yeah, there's several different layers of what I would call problems in plastic model kits. And I don't know if there's probably some kit out there that has all of them, but they all have, I think, different importance, different value, what the issues may be, and whether they're tolerable or whether they're just, it's a major pain in the ass to deal with them. You know, you've got inaccuracy, you got kits that don't fit together well. You know, kits that are inaccurate, they're just the wrong size. Stuff's molded incorrectly. Ones that won't go together because the pieces do not physically fit where they're supposed to. Poor engineering. You got kits that, unbeknownst to me, this is a new one, glue that doesn't work on them. They're made out of some, I don't know, weird vinyl material or something where the glue just wants to be incorrigible. That one's new to me. I didn't know about that until I tried building those Pegasus King Tigers. You got maybe poor instructions or just flat out wrong instructions. They tell you to put something here and they shouldn't tell you that. And then, you know, ones you spend a lot of time building stuff that you shouldn't be, you know, super finicky. You know, Maybe you're not interested in all these individual parts that make the running gear on these vehicles. What it could have just as simple been, you know, like I don't like two-piece tires. I can build them. It's just I'm spending extra time doing something that I'd rather be doing something else. So when you add all those things together, and you say like a rodent kit, like these kits, there's lots of people that have problems with them. I can see they're too finicky. They have a lot of things that people don't want to build. And the instructions are vague. Sometimes. Other than that, all the other categories, they do well. And they're really affordable. I mean, these are like $8 a piece. I mean, you just can't go wrong with that. And the fact that so many people have problems with them makes me want to build them more. So pieces not fitting together, that's probably the biggest whammy of all of them. And that's one thing that the ESCI kits, the ESCI kits, are notorious for in my book. They just don't fit together like they're supposed to. Well, that's unfortunate. Did we just go here or did we go long? Crap, I need that piece. All right. This is the part where I bend over. Trying to get excited. I need that piece now. It's here somewhere. My floor is pretty darn clean. It is just a very small piece. That if it takes a little too much time finding it, I'm just going to, I'll come back to it. Because it is here. I found every single other piece. Here it is. The alternative is to get in a position where I'm a lot more over this, but then I mess up my neck. And that's happened before. I'd rather not have a week of painful neck. Okay, so let's find out why this thing isn't sliding into place where it's supposed to. Let's get this little friend right here. Let's turn this thing vertical. No, I'm not going to force that. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, I do not want to mess up my neck again. That was a pain in the ass. And all it took was 3 inches. 3 inches higher than normal. And it pinched something in my neck. Let's see if cleaning a little bit. I don't remember the other one giving me any trouble. There we go. That's all it took. Okay. And that's the first sub-assembly 1 complete. All right, 2 is the grenade shield, so we're going to skip that. The grenade netting. Same thing with a third one. So I'm going to build piece 4 here. Okay, gonna need that one. That's those two pieces. 8E is here. And 7E, this piece right here. These are all the pieces that we need for this section of assembly. Let's go ahead and trim these off. Now, one thing that made this a lot easier was these guys right here, because there's a lot of small pieces that are very brittle that I might have had issues putting them together if that was the case. Because these pretty much just cut right in place instead of twist a little bit before it starts cutting, and then you've got a piece that breaks off. So I'm glad that I got those when I got them. Oh, this little guy too. Okay, this should be all the moving parts. Yeah, once again, I didn't cut any of those pieces off. They just weren't molded right. There's a couple of pieces here, and this happened to me last time, that's supposed to have like little nubs that stick out, and this just doesn't have them. So we'll just do the same thing we did with the other one, which was pretend they were there and do it appropriately. Just make sure that okay, this has kind of a little step here. This is going to go underneath there. Oh, the yawning commences. I don't know if that's a good sign or not. It's a good sign for me to go to sleep. Not a good sign for staying awake. All right, so you got that piece on there. This other piece is going to run from here to here. I woke up this morning and I saw, I want to say it was on Facebook, an article that almost baited me into answering them. Or somebody's response that almost baited me into answering them. And it was an article about, of all things, aliens. And it was an article something along the lines of, somebody's, hey, Kevin, you're in bed at 8 p.m., then up at 10. Too warm. Oh, don't talk to me about too warm. Unless you don't have air conditioning, in which case you can talk. I wish we had the temperatures where you're at. But you may not have air conditioning, in which case, or a ceiling fan. Yeah, that would, I'm working on the last 234/1, so the other one of these. So they'll all be done and they can all go to the paint booth together. But this article came along and it was something along the lines of, that's the one thing about Facebook. If you see something you like, it's very difficult, and you don't comment on it, it's very difficult to find it again. But anyways, this article had something to do with William Shatner or something like that, about going into space, and it made him rethink things, and how, kind of put everything in perspective. So I just kind of was glossing over it. Went to the comment section and somebody was saying, that we should explore the ocean and stuff before, our own planet, before we go to the other ones, which I agree with. I don't think we know enough about what's going on here to be fooling around with other things, but somebody's response to that, they almost baited me into answering them. I don't know who the hell this person is, but their response was something like, if there's aliens out there, and I'm just paraphrasing here, if there's aliens out there, what lets you think that they're going to let us go to another planet and ruin that one as well, or something like that? It basically said something like, if we ruin this planet and its resources, what makes you think that the aliens are going to allow us to do that? And I almost responded something with, so you haven't even met the aliens and you've already turned into a turncoat. I'm pretty sure that if I ever meet aliens, which I don't have no plans on meeting any, the only aliens I'll meet are, ones that, work part-time and they get picked up at Home Depot. But, the alien extraterrestrial aliens, I'm pretty sure if I ever meet one, I'm not going to take their side. I'm pretty sure I'm going to fight for the humans. Yes, there's bad humans, absolutely. But there's also good people. And I know there's good people, and I don't know if there's any good aliens. So, that's pretty much how I feel about it. But I was like, they almost baited me into giving them a response. Like, so they haven't even landed yet, and you already abandoned your own people. Should we hang you now? But there's a lot of people out there. I would have thought it would be a minute amount. There's a lot of people out there. I guess we're going to have a philosophy issue today. There's a lot of people out there that are embarrassed, seemingly, to be born human. I'm not. I mean, it doesn't mean you have to be a piece of shit, but there's a lot of people out there that just seem like, they don't. They're ashamed that they, we're not all Hitlers, You're allowed to be a good human. With the exception of dolphins, maybe. I don't know any other creature that's already on this planet that if we switched roles with them and they were top of the food chain, or let's just say they have the intelligence and the resources, opposable thumbs, etc., as humans, and we switch places with them, that would do a better job than we would. Maybe dolphins, but you know, those cute little geckos or whatever, they're freaking dinosaurs, man. If they took over, they would just be freaking eating people left and right. So, this just takes a little bit of, again, this was just kind of miscast. It should have a little loop at the top, and it doesn't happen to me on the other one. I'm just going to attach this where it would normally be attached, had that piece existed at the top. Okay, we're going to let this thing sit there. We've got 2 seats to do, 16A and 15A too. So 2 16As and 2 15As. Okay, the A sprue is this one right here. This needs to stop blowing and moving on me. I find it extremely distracting. 16 is this big old nasty right here. Let's seal this up for good measure. But they didn't bait me into responding to them because I don't want to get into a sparring match with somebody that doesn't have a purpose in life other than to be a keyboard commando. And there's people out there. There's people like, man, if it wasn't for a keyboard commando, they wouldn't have a purpose in life. No, I'm a big fan of letting those keyboard commandos be unemployed. Okay. Trim that off. Hey, Nordic, well, you have to go back and see. I can't repeat myself, man. All right, you want me to give you a short version? All right, you ready to listen? So I woke up this morning and I saw a Facebook article. And it was something about William Shatner, about going into the stars, and kind of humbled him as a human being. I kind of glanced over it. I went right to the comments section. And somebody's comment was, somebody had said, hey, we need to colonize other planets, this, that, or the other, resources, something. Somebody's comment right off the bat was something and I'm paraphrasing, was something along the lines, what makes you think aliens would allow human, that, they're not even here yet, but they're going to allow us to go somewhere else and ruin those planets as well as we've ruined this one. And I almost responded something to the point of, you haven't even met an alien yet and you're already taking their side. So you've already basically a turncoat for the human race. Yes, there's bad humans, but there's good humans too. I'm going to put my money that if I ever meet an alien, I'm going to take the side of the humans. Okay, I'm not going to abandon this civilization and just go into their arms, because odds are, I'm not. But that would just, I'm like, I'm not going to get into that, because this person's got, some people just, I think, are ashamed that they were born human. And it sounds crazy, and it wasn't the case when I was a kid. Those people didn't exist, or they were underground and they knew better than to speak up because they would get an atomic wedgie or worse, But There's a lot of people out there that are very vocal, and they're really, oops, they really seem to be very disappointed that they are born a human, which makes zero sense to me. Many more good than bad. That's true. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm not denying that there's bad people. Just like when I was a kid, nobody hated this country. Or if they did, they shut the hell up. It's not perfect, you know. This place is terrible, and then friggin' leave. Anyhow, I thought that was by any creatures. If you take anything like, man, dogs are much better than people. If you reverse roles and dogs all of a sudden are running the world, I will guarantee you that they do a crappier job than humans do. Dolphins may be the exception, because there's just something about them. They know what's going on, you know. But oh, look at the cute lizard. Yeah, if he was the size of a dinosaur, he'd be fucking terrorizing everybody and eating everything in sight. I hate what the people in power have done to the country. I hate that we now bow to the woke mob and the psychos. I hate that allow people in power want us to be, you know, to fight amongst ourselves. And really, we're all on the same team, you know. All the people that aren't corrupt, we're all on the same team. Yeah. Yeah, social media is terrible. It gives everybody a voice, and some people don't deserve a voice. Well, how can you say that? Okay, well, child molesters. Do child molesters deserve a voice? I'm pretty sure everybody would agree with me that they don't. But now they can find each other. They can find out other ways of, you know, of terrorizing children, etc. You know, internet is not good for that. But it gives everybody a voice, even if there's, you know, just because you have the freedom to speak doesn't mean you're allowed to cry, you know, fire in a crowded theater. It's basically that, you know. And so all right, there's that. You ever find out what happened in that house explosion in Pennsylvania yet, or is it still 2 years away, like they said? Yeah. They don't know what caused the house explosion in Pennsylvania. It may take years, but they know that the guy they know that the mercenary guy in Russia died. Hey, Skylab, what's happening? This supposedly has pegs that fit in these holes, but they're not even visible. Now, one of the examples of poor craftsmanship on this. Okay, this puts all the pieces together. So we're gonna need oh, that's part of the turret. That's part of the turret piece. That's the bottom of the bottom of the basket. Let's cut that thing out. Did I already know the U.S. military already took on that Russian Wagner group in battle and utterly shit-stomped them so bad it wasn't funny? I don't know, but did it really? To quote Tick, okay? To quote Tick and Tick history, but is that really the case? You just got through your hour and a quarter evening commute home. Oh man, that stinks. I didn't think you lived somewhere that had that much traffic, but I don't think of Utah as having a lot of traffic. Maybe you just leave it. Yeah, that stinks. Well, hopefully you have something cool to listen to. Make the time go by quick. Yeah, I don't listen to the news because I find myself doing that all the time. Is that really the case? Used to be you'd hear the news and you figure it out. Now they're going to tell you what it means, not have you, and it doesn't matter what news channel. Everybody's got a freaking agenda. And let you figure it out. You know, I graduated from college. I think I can pretty much figure out what the news means. I don't need you telling me what it means. And then omit stuff that doesn't work into your narrative, you know, etc. I just ignore all of it. Hell with it. Let me get some more agua. I'll be right back. Nordic is right. Our forces in Syria got hit by their group. The Wagner group was in Syria. And in retaliation, we laid down a law with artillery. 2/3 of the Wagner group was attacking a U.S.-held installation, got wiped out from artillery, drones, gunships, attack. According to Wagner reporters, they got creamed. Yeah. What are we doing in Syria? I can't imagine. I've got nobody that's in the military. And nobody in my family's been in the military. Never been in the military. My dad would have been in World War II if he would have been born in a different country. He's the right age to have gone in. I had an older dad, and I tried to join right after the first Gulf War, and they didn't want me, and probably did me a favor. Not because I just wouldn't have been able to handle all the BS. But kudos to our service men and women, but that's a thankless freaking job. And I can't, like I said, I don't even have anybody in the military. I was recommended to watch that show. What was it called? The one with Chris Pratt in it. terminal list, and I'm starting to watch it. I'm getting so freaking angry. I'm getting so angry that any of this might be true, and I just had to turn it off. I'm like, I can't watch anything like that. That, you know, these people get sent to places that they shouldn't be to begin with, and then they're getting double crossed by people that are supposed to doing their best. I mean, I can't. I don't even want to know that something even remotely like that's going on. Okay, these two pieces are going to go, right, they're going to attach there. This funny looking thing. Is this the piece that we didn't install on the other one because it just didn't work? Let's see, let's take this turret off. Let's see if that's the case. But is that really the case? Let's see if this is really the case. Oh, I see. It dangles down. Okay. Again, poor instructions. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and dangle that thing down. Hopefully none of my family was involved. Nah. No, and we weren't involved in the Cuban Revolution either. As far as I can tell, my dad said one of my ancestors or one of my family members, great grandparents or something like that, was a colonel in the Spanish army. But my whole family came over to the New World or to Cuba in particular, about the time of the Spanish-American War, and that's it. So we were gone. We have a very small family, so as far as I know, none of them were involved in that fiasco. Yeah, Spanish Civil War, where everybody loses. Okay, so those two pieces are supposed to stay glued like that. And then this sits on top like this, blocking everything else. And it looks like the only attachment points are going to be there and there. What am I building? I'm building one of these. I'm building another 234-1. Another one of these guys. The second one. This should fit across here. I'm not sure that it will. I'm going to finagle with it a little bit. Yeah, I'm not sure if they operated in sections of two. Um, I really don't know. But these were the most common ones. The 234 slash ones were the most common ones. So if I had to have two of something, this seems like the one to have two of. Not the Puma, not the not the Howitzer version, not the Packwagen. And like I said, I got them because there was something I could use my credit from Noble Knight on. Okay, let that sit and percolate for a little bit. Okay, and I'm gonna let that dry a little bit before we go and we add all these other sections on here that we need that. I don't care that you're telling me to do that. We're not doing that. We're doing the suspension next. We've built several of these and we know that that's pretty much independent of everything else. So, while these little guys dry, let's put the vehicle tires together. Tires and other things like that. Your poor Hershey bar. You can eat, just because you live in Pennsylvania means you can eat other chocolate that's not Hershey. You know that. I like, I don't have chocolate bars very often, but at all. I usually get gifted. I've told them to stop giving me one because I don't need chocolate in my life. As Toblerone is the one chocolate that I do care for. And I said, stop giving me one of them huge things for Christmas. I get one of them big triangular, massive size. And I said, stop giving me that. Chocolate makes me freaking angry. All that super sugar makes me angry. I don't need that. But I'll put it in the fridge or even the freezer. So I like it cold. But that's not something I ever buy on my own. Is Hershey actually chocolate? Too bitter tasting for me, but I'm not a chocolate connoisseur. It's not marketed for me, let's put it that way. Were armored cars used on front or crowd control? Both. These are too expensive to use on crowd control. And on crowd control, I would imagine you would mean also like anti-partisan duties. These are just too expensive vehicles. These are definitely a premium. I would guess only the elite units would even have these type of things. I believe the markings for several of these vehicles for the 116th Panzer Division at Normandy. Panzer Lehr would have them and some elite units. Other than that, most of them just had to do with probably old armored cars, none at all. So, I don't know exactly how many Reich marks it would cost to manufacture these, but I wouldn't be surprised if these cost as much to manufacture as a Panzer III. So, there just is a lot of moving parts. A lot of moving parts. I mean, they got a crew of 4. I mean, they're as long as a JS2. You know? Or they're as long as a Brumbar. Yeah, longer than a Brumbar. I mean, 4-man crew and everything. They're expensive vehicles. So it was funny. There was an article on I was reading a couple weeks ago on Jagdtigers and talking about how effective they were. And the first thing I thought of is it doesn't matter how effective a Jagdtiger is. You can disregard the fact that the Allies have complete and total air superiority, especially on the Western Front, whenever the Jagdtigers showed up. And they basically had to be camouflaged. You can discount the fact that they were really difficult to maneuver around. You can discount the fact that they were gas hogs. The reality is the crews that were working them were, for the most part, green. You might have like some experienced people in the platoon, but by and large, the Jagdtiger crews are going to be like freaking green experience-wise compared to Wehrmacht troops at any other point in the war. You don't care for dark chocolate. I'd rather eat dirt than dark chocolate. Yeah. But most people were like you, Skylab. I think most people actually do like dark chocolate. I can't stand it. You know, it's too bitter. I love ice cream, and there's ice cream. They can't have ice cream in the house. They get all eaten unless it's chocolate ice cream. I won't even touch it. Just not even interested in it. Got your hands on a copy of Regimental Fire and Fury. Think of getting back for some miniatures, but not Blue Moon, Old Glory. Forget about the ranges. You just stay out of miniatures. You told me a while back that if you had the idea of getting into miniatures to go up there and slap you. So I'm going to go buy my plane ticket. I'm going to fly into Philadelphia, and I just work my way over to whatever the hell you live and slap you. Actually, I'm going to hold you down, and then Rick will slap you. Anti-inflammatory. Yeah, they're all too bitter to me. Just like a lot of people like IPAs. I can drink an IPA, I can't have dark chocolate. I remember when I was little, my dad would go to the grocery store. He always had a sweet tooth. I mean, I'm little, like I was like 6, 7 years old. I remember he'd go into the grocery store and he always grab Cadbury or something like that with nuts. I always like chocolate that have nuts in it. Not just have something in there for different consistency. And then as he got older, he started getting into the dark chocolate. I'm like, I'm not interested in any of that. You can have that all yourself. Forget about that. Just buy your plane ticket, use a beach vacation. Man, I couldn't spend the third day at the beach. I'm like, man, we got Labor Day. We're like, man, we got to get off the beach. I just feel like I'm covered. I didn't burn or anything. Wore a hat. I just felt like I was exposed to too much radiation. I'm like, we'll take the last day off and not be at the beach. But we had a good time. Fortunately, the place that my daughter is going to college has one of the beaches in Florida that we like the most. So that's really convenient. I used to like Snickers, but you can't eat nuts because of diverticulitis. Can't eat nuts like Black Noir. Or I think that was an Almond Joy. Man, I just can't get into season 3. But man, when that happened in season 2, I laughed out loud. I'm sitting in the car by myself at lunchtime or something watching. I'm just bellowing. That was freaking hilarious. Something about season 3, just can't get into it. Maybe it was just too much of a good thing. Okay, and the next thing is the little sidebars, which there's several of them here. Cocktail peanuts. I never cared for cocktail peanuts. I remember when we used to go to Busch Gardens many years ago. They used to be owned by Anheuser-Busch. And one of the brands that Anheuser-Busch also had, I believe, was Eagle Snacks, which would make sense because Anheuser-Busch has an eagle on them, and Eagle Snacks also has an eagle. Anyways, so when you left the park, they would give you a little bag of... You get 2 free beers when you go in there, assuming you were of drinking age. Here's the catch. And you'd get some of their peanuts, and they had some honey roasted ones. Freaking amazing. I don't know if they still make them, but amazing. But just like regular, like dry peanuts, they aren't worth eating them. I'll go somewhere and they have them, like there for you to eat. Yeah, I'll eat them because they're there, but it's nothing I want. Last trip to Cal Beach, too polluted. Really, in California? Then why do they have all those restrictions on the environment if they don't do any good? It's almost like they got a small penis and they like to shake it around. Hey, I'm all for, protecting the environment. You can't have beaches that are littered with trash or that kind of stuff. I'm not a save the earth type of person, but man, you can't have the earth looking like a trash heap. That's not cool. So, beaches are far better than the ones up here. At least you can see what's in the water. Up here, it's not good water. Yeah, Clearwater and St. Petersburg, Sarasota, all that stuff is crystal clear, and there's hardly any waves. Not that I necessarily have a problem with waves, but it makes it a lot easier. It makes it a lot more real. Actually, I like the waves. I don't like the pull up and down the beach. In other words, when you get in, you go out like 100 feet. You just kind of chill in there with your drink that you're not supposed to have because you're not supposed to drink in public. Whatever. Nobody pays attention to that. You bring your trash in, everything. You're a tax-paying adult human being. So you go out there and you're just hanging out. Time to come back in. Like, dude, where's my stuff? Oh, it's like 100 feet that way. Like, what the hell happened? Because you ended up getting pulled north or south. That doesn't happen at the Gulf. So, yeah, you got to protect the beaches, man. That's a big draw for here. Oh, so I saw the beach. We're at the beach first day, and we're just kind of hanging out, and we're like, "What the hell is that?" And we're like in waist high water, maybe a little bit higher than waist high, and it wasn't completely clear because the storm had just gone through a couple days earlier, and it kind of shook things up. There was seaweed in places that normally there wouldn't be seaweed. No big deal, but it was just not as clear as we're used to it being. And here's this mass moving in between people, moving at a pretty good pace. Manatee. First time I've ever seen a manatee like out in the open. That was pretty cool. But he was right there, but he was a little too far away to go grab him. I wanted to give him I know you're not supposed to touch him, whatever. Hey, I wanted to just clean the freaking green shit off of him. When I lived down in Tampa and Sarasota, I used to love watching the ships come into Tampa Bay. Interesting fishing off the Skyway Bridge Causeway. The Bridge of Death, as I call it. I didn't realize that my daughter told me that she was down there and she had to evacuate because of flooding, not because of the wind. And they ended up not getting any flooding, but she ended up evacuating, and their evacuation route actually took her over the Bridge of Death. Now, she's not I would not call her an experienced driver. The only time she's really been on the interstate was when she drove down with us for us to drop her off a couple months ago. And then I find out she had to go over the Skyway Bridge, and she was like, "Yeah, Dad, I was white knuckling the whole way." And I'm like, "Yeah, no kidding. I hate that bridge. You're looking over here, and the bridge is all the way over this side. It just I remember when I was a kid, there was the big accident on it where some Exxon Valdez drunk captain or whatever ended up hitting a piling and knocked down a whole part of the bridge, and I forget how many people died, but I swear it was like 50 or whatever. A whole Greyhound bus came down, and that's horrible shit like that. You don't forget stuff like that. You just don't forget things like that. I don't forget, Air Florida in 1980 when it was taking off from DC, and and they didn't get enough lift, and one of the landing gear clipped the bridge and killed a bunch of people and fell in the Potomac. Stuff like that. Just ways to die that shouldn't happen. Just really. I remember shit like that. I remember shit like the guy that's driving around like a maniac, weaving in and out of traffic, that gets in an accident and dies. Yeah, well, he had it coming. But like freak show stuff, yeah, that's scarring to me. You hear Spanish gold washes up after hurricanes in Florida. I think Somebody's been smoking something before they told you that. Your dad was driving to St. Pete the day that bridge collapsed, missed being on it by 15 minutes. Holy shit. That was 1980, I think. It was 80 or 81. I remember shit like that. Just like that year we went to California in 86, and like in 88 they had the bad quake. It was 88 or 89, they had a bad quake. And there was this bridge that pancaked on top of the other one and caught cars in the middle. Man, I'm like, I'm paranoid about, getting squished by stuff. Kev, what are we doing not going down there to get some of the plunder? I don't think there's that much. There might be a lot of gold out there, but who knows under how much silt it's under. Even if you had a metal detector or something like that, and you're looking for stuff that's not something of that high value, it's unlikely you'll find it because it could be under who knows how much silt. Spain can sit and spin. They're not my people. Oh, you better not come down here with that attitude, pal. You might get garroted. It didn't belong to them. They were just the last ones to own it. Before Poseidon got it. Okay, so that is going to leave that percolating for a little bit. Now we do all the annoying bullshit that takes a long time to do. Actually, I like Spain, but they get none of my plunder. That's too late. The Spanish Inquisition's headed your way. I already notified them. And I hear they don't like Lutherans. So one of the things I find really weird is there's a lot of things I find creepy. Masks are one of those things I find really creepy. Like if I lived somewhere where they did like a Krampus festival or something like that, like that ain't gonna fly. You're not wearing a demon mask and parade through my freaking town and live. That's just not gonna happen. But another one of the things that's really weird is those folks in the old country during Holy Week, they dress up in, we'll call it colorful Klansman outfit, with like freaking the pointy hats and everything. That's some creepy shit. And the thing is I think it's extra creepy because I'm not even one of the groups of people that they would go after. If that was some kind of Spanish Inquisition, I'm pretty sure that I am clear of, they're not going to come after me. But it's still freaking creepy to be dressing up in a freaking hood. Without people showing their face. I'm not a fan of that. Okay, and then we need 4 of these. Okay. All right, so we'll do the same thing on the other ones. You know, there's just some accidents that just shouldn't happen. You know, a ship hitting a pylon that's not moving, like that shouldn't happen. It should never freaking happen. Just like you should never get hit by a train. You know, the train. The only way I can buy that you accidentally got hit by a train is if you're by the tracks, the train derails and derails on top of where your vehicle is. Other than that, you know, the train can only go here. So be careful when you cross that line because that's the only place the train can hit you. You know, I mean, if you get hit by a train, you're a freaking idiot. You know. Some accidents are just inexcusable. 1982, Florida Keys threatened to secede from Union. Man, at least the South had weapons. What? Why would a place that has the people wear less shoes than the people in the South in the 1860s try to secede? It doesn't work. You can't win a war barefoot. I think they were just smoking too much of that shit down there. Hey, you know it'd be cool? What? Oh, I don't know. I forgot. The rest of us in Florida gave a chuckle and then went with our. I didn't even heard about it. Dumbasses. Am I missing one? Nope. She's right here. Okay. There's all that. This is I'd say the tedious part of the build. But it's only the fourth time I'm doing this, so it's not like it's that big of a deal. And it's a hell of a lot less of a pain in the ass than painting like 36 Roman sandals. That's much more of a pain in the ass. Just taking the big parts off with this. We'll try to stay on here till 10 Eastern Standard Time. You guys normally aren't any of the morning people, but just as a heads up, there will probably not be a Saturday morning session. I have to go in. We have been mandated to have to go in on Saturday morning, so I am not going to get online for 30 minutes or 45 minutes or even an hour and then have to go and do that. But we should be back on Sunday morning. No, it's not to make up for Labor Day. It's to make up, supposedly, to make up for the day that we missed of the storm. No, they have done stuff like that, though. They have done like, okay, well, we don't have to pay people overtime, so we'll give you one day off, and then you'll have to work a weekend, kind of thing. It's like I'd rather just, you know, I've said it before. I've said this before. It doesn't matter, within reason, how many hours you work in a day. If you work a 10-hour day or even a 12-hour day, it doesn't really matter how many days you work. I mean, obviously, you don't want to work 16-hour days or worse. But you need to have, if you work a day longer than a normal day, the extra hours end up coming out of your time off. So then there should be some kind of a mandate that, you have to have at least 12 hours off or something like that before your shift again. Working a 12 or 11-hour day isn't going to kill anybody. But, realizing that, instead of having 12 hours off, now you have 8. Oh, and you worked a longer day, it's just kind of, doesn't seem right, not enough to have a revolution over, but just, same thing, it's like, I don't give a shit how long a day you're working. I'm taking my lunch break. I don't give a shit. I know some people, that would rather not have a lunch break just so they can leave earlier. But it's like, no, I gotta have some time in the middle of the day where I can just think about my own fantasy stuff and not be worried about work. Other people would rather just like, well, I don't want to take a lunch. I'll work through it and get off an hour earlier. No, I need my people that work a hell of a lot less than me get a lunch break. So by God, I'm taking one. Either there's a breeze going across Tony's desk or a ghost is moving the sandpaper. Could be both. I don't believe in ghosts, so, there's always a breeze in here. I'm not going to work with it standing still. That's absurd. I don't know how people live without ceiling fans. That's unacceptable. It's one of the worst things about staying in a hotel, unless you're staying in a hotel with ceiling fans, which are, even in Florida, are pretty rare. I've stayed in them before, but it's pretty rare. It's got to be a fancy ass hotel. That's for sure. All right, I need to get some headache medicine. I've got a little bit of a headache brewing, probably due to the new medication I'm on. I'll be right back. Yeah, we don't get a whole lot of vacation days, and we don't get a lot of freebies, days where we're closed, which is what I really like, because that means nobody's working. You don't have to leave stuff for somebody else that creates problems for you when you get back. It's literally like you leave and time stops still. We have stores here that only sell ceiling fans. Yep. Those are my favorite days off, but we only get like 4 of those a year. January 1st, and we'll get another one until Memorial Day. 4th of July, Labor Day, Thanksgiving, and the day after Thanksgiving, we've only worked one day after Thanksgiving ever, and that was in 1995, and I remember that shit. So that's Thanksgiving is almost always a 4-day weekend, and Christmas is the other day. Thanksgiving is just not a big holiday for me. I have a very small family. We all live in the same town. So, I don't need 4 days to visit them. I could visit them every freaking day. So it used to be you go out shopping, but now it's like, now everything's online. I actually don't mind that. I sit there and wait in line for shit you don't need. So let's flip all these guys over. And one day I was mail ordering something, and I came to the realization, there's always something in the Postal Service. I'm not a fan of the Postal Service. So, my condolences if you are. Mainly because they don't have any competition. So, anybody who doesn't have competition just is predisposed and not do a good job. But anyhow, I digress. There's always a hang up on you getting something on time, because every single month, except August, I think, has a postal holiday. Every single month, at least one that could cause, a delay. Except August, I think. Every single one of them. And as you know, I am a big fan of Amazon, only because they don't carry things in stores anymore, and Amazon does a really good job shipping things to you in a timely manner, unless they do a handoff to the Postal Service. Because sometimes you do that. They'll ship it, Amazon will ship it, and then the last leg they'll hand it over to the Postal Service, and it's supposed to arrive on one day, and they botch it up, and it doesn't get out until the following day after. But usually Amazon will say, hey, it's going to be here in a week, and ends up getting there in less than a week. But if there's a handoff to the Postal Service, they always end up adding another day, and it's delayed. U.S. Postal Service working last Sunday. Wow. Probably to catch up things that were delayed a day. I don't like the Postal Service. They don't have any competition. Competition makes you better. It should. That's how it should work. Again, none of this is difficult. It's just kind of finicky. Do you really want? Is it really that exciting to build the inside of a tire that you're never going to see, or would you rather it be already built so you could work on something else? Yeah, that one, the second one. But it is what it is. These were technically free, as I used my credit on stuff that I hadn't touched in 30 years and probably was never going to touch. So even if I don't paint these or do anything else with them, I'm already getting enjoyment. I'm already getting enjoyment out of this that I normally would not have. TV, yeah, you might have heard it. Wife's in the big room watching television, watching a Hallmark movie. You want to join her? Nope. I told her she should come on here and do some modeling with me. I'd get more viewers. Maybe I'd get the wrong kind of viewers. I know lots of people that end up putting their children as thirst traps. If they don't do it, it's awfully suspect. That's just freaking wrong. I don't want any sick fuckers watching my stuff. Sick fuckers are people too. Not in my book, they're not. Don't mess with kids, man. Not cool. You watch husband and wife team blogs. I don't know. I don't see how that turns out well for me. Like, I know you're not married, Kevin, but what's the worst quality or worst attribute that if you were married, the other person would have? What is like the worst combination for you? For me, it would be somebody that would question my directions. Like if we go on a trip, like, all right, we're going to do, because I suck at painting, building, painting faces. I suck at everything compared to directions. That's my calling in life, and that's without the freaking Google Maps and all that shit. I'm old school, and I got that genetically from my dad. So I can't imagine being married to somebody. No, we're not going to go. Let me see which way you think we're going to go. Oh no, that bitch should be walking. You know, I that's the one attribute I couldn't handle. But luckily, my wife's good at everything I'm not good at, which is, a lot of things. I have a limited palette of things that I'm good at. But just imagine if you're married to somebody who is only good at the same things you're good at. Holy shit, you'd be fighting all the time. One of these wheels, I actually had to take these little nubs off because it wasn't seating properly. And this may be the same situation again. Nope. Husband and wife team. Is there that many of them? With hobbies? The only one I know of is, and she's kind of a silent partner, but she's doing a lot of the work, is the guy that does the car reviews. That is excellent. The film crew is the guy's wife, and that's pretty cool. They could do. I'm pretty sure he does that for a living. That's pretty cool. They could do that together. It's not, and she's never on camera, and she doesn't speak, but she's definitely an important part, or there wouldn't be a camera person. Nobody's touching that because they don't want their wives to find out. Okay, I get it. No doghouse for any of you guys. Husband and wife team, not just boyfriend girlfriend thing, huh? Because I know that one thing that Nordic was telling me about, whatever the hell their name is, that they're miniatures painters. I guess they're boyfriend girlfriend or whatever. And that's when I realized I probably should do a show on airbrushing, or at least what I know, because there's no way I could do worse than that one episode. There was a lot of really bad advice there. But I don't really want to do hey, you should do this. I'm just like, hey, here's some stuff that's worked for me. Maybe it works for you. If you're at a dead end where you're getting frustrated with it, maybe try some of this other stuff that's worked for me. That's how I'd present it. Because I'm not really interested in other people like, okay, let's make sure everybody does everything the same way I'm doing it. I'm not trying to, start a religion or anything. But I got some stuff that I've found out over the years that works for me, and maybe it'll work for you if you're looking for other options. If you're happy with the way you already do things, well, then continue doing them that way. There's too many people that like giving advice like, you're doing it wrong, you need to do it my way. I'm like, retro recipes. They do retro computers. What, like Commodore 64s and stuff like that? I always wanted one of those as a kid. I didn't get one. No Commodore 64 for you. Let's cut all these pieces off. That's the name of their channel, Retro Recipes. This old pooter. Instead of this old house, this old pooter. Yeah, First computer I had access to was a 286. Never had access to anything before that. CGA graphics. Couples that travel to theme parks. You know, I'm surprised about theme parks. There's a whole bunch of people that don't do roller coasters. I'm really surprised. I get, if you throw up, you know, if it makes you throw up, okay, cool, you get a pass. But just being a candy ass doesn't get on a roller coaster. I'm telling you, in the 80s, if you lived in the 80s and you didn't get on a roller coaster, you would get shunned. You would get shunned by all your peers. I don't like people that go to theme parks that just seem like. I don't like people that do reviews of things that can't ever seem to say something bad if something bad even happens. Like, for instance, just to use an example, people that are freaking Disney fanatics and they can't ever say anything bad about Disney no matter what. You know, and I'm not saying you should pick on something, but if something goes sideways, you know, you need to be upfront and, you know, and be you know, have a fair review, not just like, well, you know, it came out of Mickey Mouse's ass, so we got to eat it up kind of thing. There's just a whole lot of people that are like that. And I'm like, I just wouldn't be that way about anything, about any product. You know, there's products that I'm a fan of, but if they start doing a crappy job with them, you know, um, you know, you need to be honest with yourself. And I don't do coasters because they're usually painful. Well, if they're painful, you know. I know several people my age and younger that just won't do them. I'm like, well, why even go to those things? I love freaking roller coasters. Always have. And my daughter does because I didn't tell her to be scared of them. And she had a friend of hers that would always travel with them. Probably her best friend growing up, who never got on them, and her parents let her get away with not going on them. So she started traveling with us. I basically started working my magic to the point where first she was scared to go on them, then she realized that nothing happened and she enjoyed it. And now she's cured. Now she likes going on them. And I remind her that all the time. I was like, you know, you realize I did cure you. You're missing out. You know? Now, if you think it's painful, okay, that doesn't work. If you get a headache every time you get on one, okay, that doesn't work. If you throw up, all right, that doesn't work. But barring any of those situations, freaking enjoy it, man. It's awesome. I don't like heights, and I get on them. Your big guy 6'2" don't fit on most rides. Well, 6'2" is not that big, but you might be 6'2" and a big guy. You know. Yeah, there's some rides that are even tight for me, and I still consider myself average. And there's some rides that are tight. Legs too long. Got to go on those rides where your legs dangle. Those are some of the best rides too. There's a few rides that the width can be a problem. But the only thing that's changed is, I can't go on them in a row, 5 times in a row or something like that. If it's something that has a lot of G's, it'll freaking scramble your brain. But I generally don't have any of the rides really give me any bad effects. My least favorite part right here. That'll be over in a moment. You got any theme parks in Arizona? I don't think there were any, but Six Flags or Flagstaff or something like that. I honestly don't know. They keep promising we have something called Wolf something. Like a ride or a theme park. The Wolf Slayer. Wolf Slayer, the theme park. No, I don't want to go on any of those rides. I mean, no matter what state you're in, there's probably a lot of activities that happen in the state you're in that you have zero interest in. Regardless of how popular they are, you probably have zero interest in going to them. For me, it'd be the springs. Just too freaking cold. I don't do cold water. That's just patently unpleasant. I have to drink too much vodka to stay warm for that. Wolf something, the ride. Not very catchy. I think this one actually dried. Not smooth. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull this thing apart. And these little nubs that are here. Wolf Lodge. Castles and... Why does Wolf Lodge sound familiar? Castles and coasters. There's castles in freaking Arizona? Adobe Castle. They have a castle in Florida. Out in St. Augustine, there's a couple of religious carpenters, masons, or whatever, got together several years ago and built a 10th century Irish castle out of block. And it sits on the beach off of A1A, literally yards from the actual beach. And it is open to the public, but it's only open to the public like on, like the fourth Sunday of the month. It's available for like weddings and stuff like that. It's over just north of St. Augustine. It's a really cool place. You drive by and you're like, what the hell is this doing here? And it's like, holy Blarney Stone. Disney's supposedly going to build something like Orlando. In Arizona? Well. Okay, Skylab man. Thanks for coming by. You too, man. We'll see you later in the week. Yeah, Disney's got a hell of a pull for whatever reason. You could build them like on a freaking iceberg on the freaking moon, and people would still show up in droves to it. I'm not anti-Disney. I'm just saying that, I'm surprised why that has as big a draw, much more than other places. And people come all over the world to go to Disney. There's no good day to go to Magic Kingdom. It's going to be packed no matter what. Okay, we're going to glue all these in, and then this will probably be the last act that we will do, is let these guys dry before we mount them. Wonder what they're going to do with that Star Wars hotel over that didn't work out for them. Try and do another land or something like that. I feel like if Disney comes up with something that they're, known for, hotels, entertainment and stuff like that. I mean, they've been around a long time doing that shit, and it doesn't do well, they really fucked up. Because they got vast amount of experience and and knowledge doing that kind of stuff. If they let something like that in kind of what their thing is, and they end up taking it in the shorts for it, they really screwed it up. I actually watched a couple of videos of people that actually stayed in that Star Wars hotel, and I'm like, that is just, regardless of whether or not you do or don't like the movies, or you don't like the last three movies or what have you, you see what's going on there, and you're like thinking, this is like a cruise that doesn't go anywhere, and it is cost a lot more than one, and it's just not a good value. I mean, unless you're somebody who likes to frickin' dress up, you're paying a hell of a lot of money just to dress up to be in this false environment. But some people obviously liked it. But I just don't see, there's a couple of videos out there where people did a couple of adults, no kids. I see if your kids were really into it, but man, it's just really expensive. You go on like 3 cruises for the price of, a stay at one of those places, and it's just for a couple days. I think it's like a 3-day stay or something like that. I don't know if it's even around anymore. I knew it was on its last legs, but like I said, if Disney, who's I would say they're probably the unequivocal master of everything, entertainment / resort kind of stuff, screws it up. They really screwed it up. I didn't know you were gone. We just solved all the world's problems. Just in time for me to cut out. We have something called Arizona. Never been there. That reminds me, I never did watch the last 15 minutes of Cocaine Bear. That's how exciting it was. Okay. All right, so these are drying. We've got the gun drying and so forth. And then when we come back tomorrow or the next day or something like that, we will assemble the rest of these pieces on here. But it's time to get some shut-eye. And we almost been on here 2 hours. So anyways, as always, thanks for coming along for the ride, folks. And we'll catch